Good morning, quilt people. How's everybody today? I'm doing really well. I'm super excited about this next project. And this is one I've been doing for a long time. Now, with the last one that we did with the little trees over there, that one was a little more involved. This one is actually much easier, and you can sit down and do one in probably 10 minutes or so, right? It's a really fast, easy project and makes a great little gift. You're going over to somebody's house for a party or whatever. Very, very thoughtful. And oh, look, I have my deer head cabin quilt, the Christmas version of it up. And of course, that's available for sale on my website, quiltingcowboy.com. Just hit the shop tab and all my patterns are right there. And what else? Oh yeah, so I was going on some of the other people's like craft sites, you know, just for ideas and things like this, like what are other people doing compared to what I'm doing. And oh my gosh, like they're all so perfect. Like what do these people just get out of bed and there's birds singing and flying around? Like how? Like, and then their craft projects are like, well, first I need you to go to the mountains of Monte Picchu and then get the certain wool from wherever and then spend 7 years braiding it. And then by then we're ready to start, you know, crafting a sweater. I'm like, how? My promise to you is that my crafts will always be something that you can get at a local store, right? At a Michael's or a Joann's or from your stash. That is my intention, to always be able to do that, because I just can't keep up with that. Come on. It's a little bit ridiculous. Some of them are like, so I'm like, how are you so perfect? How? You know, like they're all, I'm sure, morally correct and all shiny and like good looking and like, and I just, you know, like I have like $13 for a project in my bank account, right? And I have like maybe 20 minutes to do this before I have to go to work, and all that I'm juggling right now, like it's like, for me, if I manage to leave the house wearing pants, like that's a success. That makes for a successful day. Anyhow, let's get back to this project. It is so fun, and let me show you what we're doing. So the first thing you're going to do is go to my website and download these templates, okay? It's just there under wool ornaments. Go to quiltingcowboy.com and then /shop, or just go to quiltingcowboy.com and then hit the shop tab, and it's right there. It'll be a free pattern, just like the fabric skulls. This is very similar to the fabric skulls if you all did that project. Anyhow, so what you see here is the holly assembled and what it's going to look like once we do it, the holly leaves, the holly berries, because here it's assembled so you can get an idea of what's going to look like, right? But then here I wanted to kind of pull the items apart so it's easier to trace onto some fusible. All right, we have a star, we have the snowman assembled, and then the various snowman pieces, again, pulling them out. The trunk to the Christmas tree, we have a reindeer, we have a candle. Now, this one's a little bit more complicated, okay? So you can see here that we have some little elves. Okay, you can see what they're going to look like when they're assembled, but then I put the various pieces in here. The only difference between these two is the hair. Okay, girls' hair, they got the little, pigtails, and then the boys' hair is just chopped off. So you can see the various parts there. We have a bell, we have an ornament. Anytime something is in a different color, that means you're supposed to do it. So you can see like this Christmas ornament here, there's a red stripe in it. That means that's going to be a different fabric than the background. Same with the little bow on top. Okay, so once you get that printed out, the first thing you're going to do is cut out your backgrounds, which is basically just pieces of wool, whatever you have in your stash. It could be even just regular fabric. I like to use wool just because I like the feel of it. And those are going to be 4 inches by 3. All right, so we're going to start with that. And now that we have our templates, we're going to start to trace them out onto the fusible. Okay, so I've drawn this all out and I'm ready to get going. Now, I have labeled some of these so that as you're cutting them out, cut them out per project, like per piece, right? So all of the pieces that go with the boy elf are going to be cut out together just so that I don't get confused. And once I cut them out, then I'm going to just take this and put it on. Look at this. This is my, right? Wool scraps. Love that. It's so fun. I mean, like all of these like yummy, fun, like wool pieces, right? Oh, and then, sometimes you get these little charm packs and things like that. They're so tiny. It's like, really, what am I going to do with this? Great option, right? Because I just need to make a little hat or something. And so I have all these like fabrics to make these things into. So I'm very excited about that. Especially the items where you're layering, where am I? Hello. Where you're layering like one piece on top of another on top of another. If you're using wool, it's gonna get kind of thick. And especially once we do the final stage, which is the blanket stitch around it, right? Because that adds like just, I love it. So you might want to be mindful of that. So where it comes to multi-layers, like the ornament or the elves, things like that, you may want to use a thinner fabric rather than wool. But let's cut these out and then start to fuse them onto the wool. All right, well, my iron is heating up to do this. I wanted to show you some of the kind of finished projects already. How cute is that, right? So you're just gonna applique, you know, the one color onto the background that we cut out 3 inches by 4 inches, and then just put your sewing machine on a blanket stitch, right? And then stitch around it like this, and then throw in a couple French knots, right? And then some other little stitches and things like that around it. That's a star. And then here's a snowman. So cute, right? So you can do whatever. And I gave this one a different shaped hat. I gave him a nose. So we're just going to start with our snowman here. And so I have, see, I cut this out. And so I identified hat, snowman, right? So that as I'm cutting out all those shapes, I'm like, what circle does this go to? So you can kind of keep it project specific. Okay, iron should be just about ready. And away we go. All right, then just cut out your wool pieces, easy enough, and press this onto there, just holding it down, you know, 20 seconds, maybe 30, depending on what type of fusible you have. I really like Hot Fix. That's my new favorite thing. I wasn't able to find it at Michael's where I was shopping for this, so I just got their basic, like, now be careful, when you go to Michael's, they have 2 different kinds, one that you can sew through and one that you can't. Okay, so the heavier one is for more permanent stuff and you can't sew through it, it'll gum up your machine. But I'm using the lighter one, and so that's what we're using here. So once you have it affixed with your hot iron, right, you can see that, now you just cut it out. Easy, right? All right, so I cut out the snowman head. Now, I really like things that are not perfect. It looks a lot more handmade, and so I don't worry too much about, oh, is that circle perfect, things like that. So I would suggest the same for you. Now you're just gonna take the paper off of this, exposing the other gummy side of the fusible. Here we go. If I can get it, there we go. And now, be careful with your placement. You may want to cut out all your pieces here before you commit to where it's actually going onto the little background. Because, why? You're going to have a hat, you're going to have a bunch of other things, you're going to want to kind of place out where you're going to want to put those French knots, where you're going to do extra stitches, things like that. So you might want to just, again, before you commit to the placement of this, where that's going to go. All right, so I'm gonna cut all those out and then place them here, and then I'm gonna iron them down onto the background, the 3 inch by 4 inch background. And then the fun begins with adding the back, right? I use a velvet usually, and then stuff it, sew it, and then put a little hanger on it, and you're done, shablam, easy. Okay, I'm feeling pretty good about this. You can see I have his head, his hat. I cut out a little triangle for the nose, which I think is going to be adorable. Now, when you're placing it, before you commit to actually ironing it down, make sure that you've left your 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around, okay? It does tend to get, it just kind of smalls up on you. Is that a word? It smalls up? What am I saying? Oh, so it'll, yeah, it will definitely feel smaller once it's kind of put together. So leave yourself as much perimeter room as you can work with. Just be very mindful of that. So that looks okay. I'm going to commit to pressing that down. We wait for 20 seconds. Ironing in the winter keeps me warm. Check it out. Okay, so this one I just did, right? Now I'm gonna take it to the machine and do a blanket stitch around the various areas, and just keep making these, and then you'll do your French knots and all of the rest of that. Oh, look, Mitzi's here. She's feeling all that because it was his birthday yesterday. We had to have a staff meeting especially for her. Really? Happy birthday to you. God, she's so much work. Little tip, as you're going through this and doing this, like you'll cut out, like that's my gingerbread, right? You can see him there. And so you end up with this extra paper that's ironed on, right? Keep this. Don't just discard this, because I may want to cut out, you know, this color of brown for a button or, you know, a nose or something like that. So keep that for your accessorizing of your little applique pieces as you go through, okay? One more thing I forgot to mention, if you are doing this on fabric as opposed to wool, which tends to be more double-sided, make sure that you put, right, the fusible on the wrong side of the fabric, okay? Not on the right side. Just make sure that you're doing that when you are using material that has a right side and a wrong side, okay? All right, these are turning out super cute, and I'm super happy with them. I'll just show them really quick. Here's the candle and the Christmas tree. Yay! The bell and the star. Could go either way, actually, because sometimes I make them like this too. And the holly, this one, maybe it goes this way. I don't know. We'll see. Oh, and then this one, the deer, is a little more complicated and tricky than some of the other ones just because it has so much detail in it. So, you know, if you're doing it with kids, you might want to try and take this one on yourself. And then gingerbread man, so cute. And then the stocking, I put in a gift, a little present and a candy cane. And then the ornament. Look how cute that is. Right? I didn't actually put the stripe on it. I might do that with stitching. We'll see. And then the elves. Okay, the elves are by far the most complicated because they have the most layers to them. Here is the girl elf. Or maybe she's a drag queen elf. I don't know. I'm not here to judge. And then the boy elf. And I gave him pointy ears. How cute is that? So now I'm going to get my sewing machine out, and I'm going to do some blanket stitching around him, and that kind of, you know, bumps it up to the next level, where the one I showed you last time, where, I mean, how cute is that? With the blanket stitch and then a couple French knots, and we're going to do the French knots here in a second. This is turning out so cute. Oh my gosh, I love it. Let me, I'll show you here in a second. I'm doing the holly leaves right now. I'll just back this up. All right, check this out. Well, that was nice. Don't you love it when your spool of thread gets caught on itself and then it just lifts itself out of its container and like goes flying across your table? Okay, look at this. That's so cute. See, I did the blanket stitch around the edge. Okay, come on, camera, focus. Blanket stitch around the edge, and then just a little straight line stitch for the veining. Oh my gosh, the deer. Okay, so that's turning out pretty good. But yeah, let me finish this up, and then I'll show you the end result. All right, I'm done with the top stitching, and now we're going to be getting into the embroidery work. But I wanted to show you kind of how this is turning out, right? Again, like I said, I was using the decorative stitches rather than the stripe that I put into the pattern, just so you can get a sense of what those all look like. Oh, how cute is this? All right, little gingerbread man. The holly, I showed you, and then the girl, the boy, right? Just so you can see the stitching. And this is what I'm doing with this. The candle, and the Christmas tree, and the bell. How cute is that? All right. Oh, and the deer. Okay, so now I'm gonna get out my embroidery thread and do, you know, French knots, things like that, to kind of bump it up a little bit and get more of this effect. Look, so cute, right? So I'm doing these little French knots right at the end of the branches of this Christmas tree. Super easy. Just come up where you want it. Now, The trick to this is to do 1, 2, and kind of pull the knot already down to where you want it, okay? Then stick the needle through and slowly pull it through, and it should make a nice, perfect little French knot. Hooray! Okay, one more time in case you missed it. All right, so come up here, and then again, you just go 1, 2, and then pull it down close to where you want it, and then stick it back down in through, right? So the knot is pretty much already there even before I pull the needle through, right? And then just go slow and make sure that it doesn't knot prematurely. Ta-da! Now he's Rudolph. Woohoo! Okay, I am done decorating them. I have little pom-poms on them. I have all of the stitching done. So now I'm ready to just sew on the velvet onto the back and then stuff them with a little extra batting. All right, so I have the back on all of them, right? And I've hand sewn the bottom of all of them. So now I just grab some wire. You could use fabric as well. I like to use wire just because it gives it a little bit more structure. This is just 10-pound galvanized steel wire that I got from my gardening supplies. And then some needle nose pliers. I don't know what these are called, but I found them. This will work as well. So whatever you have that you can kind of pinch the end and then twist it around in order to make a little, circle. And then you just sew it down on the top. And let me show you how to do that. All right, so I have my wire here. I'm just gonna cut off a piece, about, I don't know, how many inches is this? It was about 9 inches what I cut here. We'll see if that's long enough or if it's too long. And then I'm just gonna take needle nose or something like this to hold the end and then just kind of wrap it around like that, right? And then when I pull it off, it has a little hook on it. So look, it's done, right? The little hanger is on. And so I'm just gonna finish up putting the hangers on. So go to quiltingcowboy.com and then hit the shop tab. All my patterns are there and you'll see all of the little templates and everything that I posted there for free. And I hope that you enjoy this pattern. Anyhow, I hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving, a great Christmas, and I look forward to sharing a lot more with you for the balance of this year and then into next year. Hooray!